It's the RTIA, it's the Road Traffic Infringement Agency, moving ahead with this rollout of the controversial administrative adjudication of road traffic offences. That's a very long title. You probably know it as AARTO. Well, the Constitutional Court is yet to rule, though, on the legality of this demerit system. The legislation is, to remind you, set to include penalties for traffic violations, a demerit system aimed at stripping repeat offenders of their licenses. Now, at the same time, let's get the reaction from the Road Freight Association. Joining us this morning, Gavin Kelly is their CEO. Gavin, good morning. Good to have you with us on eNCA. So first of all, do you agree with a system like AARTO? We'll get into the constitutionality of it in a moment and maybe trying to bring this in before the court deems it legal. But what do you make of the AARTO system? Good idea or bad idea? Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth. Wow, that's a tough question. Good morning to all your viewers this morning. Well, the AARTO system is based on an Australian system called the parent system, which has been enforced in the state of Victoria for a good 30 years already. And there are many countries around the world that run a demerit system. The important thing to remember is that in those countries, traffic policing, or the police that do their duties on the road, because they don't necessarily call them traffic police, that system or those police forces are reliable. They don't have the same levels of corruption that we unfortunately see, and they are quite transparent in what they do. And then society has as alternatives, where you lose your licenses in those countries, public transport, which of course you know we don't have. And then finally, their court system has a special feature that deals with so-called traffic violations. I'm sure you can remember on South African TV a program called Night Court, which was very much about that, where you go with your traffic type violations in special constructed and knowledgeable courts. So is it a good thing? Well, in short, yes, it would be a good thing if there were a number of things that were ironed out or simplified, as we've pointed out. And secondly, it is there to change behavior. Now, we've always raised the point that AARTO in South Africa, although it says it wants to change behavior, the way in which it is currently constructed is not about changing behavior, it's about revenue generation.
Well, I was about to ask you, if you take a look at how this is mapped out at the moment, Gavin, and you do highlight a couple of concerns and issues that you want to talk about, which I'd like you to unpack for me in a moment. This doesn't really, I get the sense, speak to road safety. This is about penalising drivers with a point system and also as a way of making money for RTIA. So help me then understand what you would like to see change to actually make this improve road safety, which in the end, Gavin, is what this should be about.
Yes, Gareth. Well, the first thing is going to be that citizens, whether it's a private driver like you and I, or a fleet operator, so somebody has trucks or buses or whatever the fleet may be, can access their points, their demerit points, in other words, the types of penalties that will accrue and give them points easily or for free. So around the world, you can access those points for free. Here in South Africa, you're going to be charged every time you do that, and that you are able then to interact with the various authorities to understand how those points were accrued, and there must be some sort of process to be able to challenge that it doesn't end up being a costly exercise. Secondly, the way in which points are issued around the world, they don't have in a country 4,000 or 3,500 odd offences. They have the critical offences that they know through scientific research and through observation cause the problems on the road. So let's, for example, say driving under the influence of an intoxicating substance, whether it's alcohol or medication or drugs. So they deal with those. They've got a very, very sharp spear in terms of the offences, and read that as the behaviors they want to change. So that's the second very, very important thing. And then definitely all the little other penalties that lie around there, the administrative costs, we have a huge problem with that because it's going to bring other costs into our supply chain in terms of managing this. And then the rehabilitation program has a number of questions around it in terms of who's going to do that, how's it going to be managed, and of course, again, what is the cost going to be?
Yeah, and also, Gavin, I suppose the issue is going to be, and you touched on this very briefly, I want to just go to this issue of those from an administrative perspective. This is what you were talking about. Right now, there are very, very few reliable, safe and efficient means of public transport. A lot of people are pushed into getting a private vehicle, which requires a license. That's where I was going next. Right now, it's almost impossible to get your driver's license done. The latest issue is version 2.0 of our card license machine has gone back for repair again. Why we only have one of these machines is beyond me. But here we are. And this is going to cause a backlog, which is going to leave a lot of people getting these penalties that you're saying are not a good idea.
No, exactly, Gareth. And if there isn't a policing force out there that is consequential in what it does, it is transparent, it is fair, then you're going to find more and more people driving without the licenses, or there being more and more unroadworthy vehicles. These are the challenges we face. You know about the stories of vehicle test centers where vehicles are not even brought to the test center, and then they are given a roadworthy. They don't even physically get taken to the test center. So that's of great concern. The driver license, the original idea, when AARTO was being constructed way back in the mid-90s and the late 90s, the idea was that the driving license was supposed to be on your ID card. If you recall, driver licenses used to be in the ID book. So the smart ID card, which is now being rolled out, was going to have the driver's license. So that's an important thing that the Department of Transport has forgotten, is that this plastic card was actually a temporary measure until this new driver license, until this new ID card came into play. And then we wouldn't have these machine problems.
And lastly, while we're on the issue of driver's licenses, what about those who don't even have their driver's licenses now? They're driving illegally on the road. This isn't exactly an incentive for them to go get their driver's license. So what do we do with people who are driving around no driver's license and potentially no interest in getting one, Gavin?
Well, you see, again, Gareth, this is where we've got no reliable public transport system. So, for example, in Australia, the United States, or the UK, you do not need a driver's license. In actual fact, a fair amount of the youth don't even go and do driver's licenses because there's a public transport system that's safe, efficient, and reliable. And that is one of the pillars of a point demerit system actually working, that there is this alternative to get to work or to carry on with your life, and the deterrent that if you want to behave badly on the roads, then you will not have the privilege of being able to drive.
Gavin Galley, thank you very much indeed for your time. I appreciate it so early on a Monday morning. Going to be a big issue. A lot of people need their driver's licenses, can't get them done. And then right now you've got this AARTO point system. You agree, disagree? It's going to be a debate throughout the day. Gavin Kelly, CEO of the Road Freight Association, joining us this morning.